Do you dream about launching your own business? Are you working hard in your career but don't feel you have the skills to reach the next level? Do you need something which works around your busy schedule? We're here to tell you that you can have it all. Find out more about the Roadmap Alternative MBA at www.roadmapmba.com, including free worldwide shipping and our 30-day full money-back guarantee. We care about equal access to education. We care about building a better world. Our mission is making business education accessible. Join us.
Hello and good morning. It is Friday the 20th of May 2022. My name is Steve Pugh, and most Fridays, not every Friday, sometimes we have internet problems and different things kind of come up. I do a business strategy live stream where basically I talk about interesting stuff from the week, which hopefully you kind of find interesting. And we also answer any questions which kind of come in from the Roadmap MBA business course. So the Roadmap MBA is a real world business course to help you basically develop the skills to grow your business or career. It's all based on real world practical stuff which you can implement today if you really want to. And really what we try and do, our mission is to make business education accessible, but not just to people in the UK or the US. We're actually in 29 different countries now. We shipped to Brazil earlier in the week. And what we're trying to do is make business education accessible for 5 billion people, both in terms of cost. And one of our big ambitions longer term is to do with an app, which we're going to launch, which we're going to give everything away for free, all the pre-recorded stuff. And that's part of our longer term goal and my goal for kind of this year. But then also in terms of how we actually communicate the topics to really kind of get the complexity out of business education and really, kind of make it simple and easy for people to kind of understand. At the time it takes, one of the big things that is a real barrier to people, because everyone has kind of busy lives, is actually to have the time to kind of learn stuff that when you've got kids, family, busy work life, busy social life, that actually what you probably don't want to do is sit for 10, 20 hours a week reading really thick, dense, horrible textbooks to really try and figure out what you need to know, etc. And then even if you do go onto YouTube or Udemy or a lot of the other kind of online kind of platforms, you go into Udemy, there's 185,000 courses, and whilst they might all be great kind of stuff, where do you know where to start? How do you know what you need, etc.? So what we purposely try and do is give you the complete roadmap to grow your business or career in one place, one easy textbook. We walk you through the whole thing. And then the way that we also teach is not just in the book, but we also do live streams, podcasts, live kind of classroom sessions. And the beauty of those is actually, and it's properly live. So even now it's 8:56. But the whole point is that a lot of people want to ask questions and say, how does this apply to me, and really kind of make it relevant. So we kind of do that as well. And what we've tried to do is just try and rethink business education in a way which hopefully is quite cool and quite interesting. And then likewise, anyone, anywhere in the world who's interested in getting a free course can kind of get in touch as well, and I'll happily kind of send one out. So my name is Steve Pugh. I'm a management consultant by trade. I'm a chartered mechanical engineer, and basically for my whole kind of career, I've been very good at kind of solving problems. And in the past kind of 10 to 15 years, really applying that to business-based kind of problems. And I'm quite good at it, and that's what my kind of day job is. And then what we also try and do is take academic theory, which you might hear about on the news or lots of different kind of stuff, and really make it simple and accessible in a way that hopefully is useful to you in terms of what we kind of talk about. So I love it when people get involved, so please say hello in the comments. I sometimes have people in America who catch this in a few hours time when they wake up. So I apologize about the time difference, but I do love it when people kind of get in touch. And I just love to know where in the world you're based. What have you been up to this week? What progress have you made this week? I always try and share my journey, because actually as an actual entrepreneur, and I actually kind of do this, one of my pet peeves is that so many people kind of spout all the theory and they talk all this stuff about what you should do, but they don't kind of do it themselves. So actually you can see quite literally my journey if you go back in my socials over the past kind of year, or arguably last kind of 10 years. And because I actually kind of live and breathe this stuff, I always share best practice and stuff that I find, in the hope that if I can experience something or solve a problem, hopefully you won't have to. And one prime example just from this morning, I'm in the process, I've got a new basically bank account for Roadmap MBA Limited, and working with my new accountant, basically we had to set up QuickBooks to then do a UK thing called Making Tax Digital. And annoyingly, just this morning, my bank account is on something called HSBC Connect, which is like a new, no, Kinetic, I think, but it's one of their new ones which doesn't work with QuickBooks, which is super annoying. And the idea is that if I'm happily to open to talk about stuff like this, hopefully you won't make the same mistakes as well. But we apply it to all different kind of business topics and that kind of thing as well. But generally, if you're just around and you tune in, please send me a message. It does pop up and it'll pop up on screen as well. Yes, there we go. So the topics I'm going to talk about today, one of the really important ones is what is inflation? Hi Simon, it's been a while. Hope the job's going well, etc. But thank you for kind of getting in touch. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. Hope the family's good. Topics for today: what is inflation? What does it mean? How will it affect me? And I'm going to cover that in two different ways. One is to do with for you as a person, and then secondly, you as a business or as a business, because actually the two are massively interconnected. Of course, everyone's going to have a sway one way or the other. That if you're a business owner, your main focus is going to be on how inflation can affect your business and your staff. But then rightly so, if you work in a business, you're worried about paying for stuff. But I'm going to kind of break that down and do a segment on that. One, which is quite interesting, is about to do with, is all competition bad? Because I was talking to some friends recently, and this is why I love to do this, because actually it relates real stuff that hopefully you can kind of relate to, where actually a new competitor came on the block, they kind of copied their idea, they even asked them for advice and then didn't tell them what they were going to do, and and then it's that balance of, is that bad or good? Obviously there's a lot of things to talk about, but I'm really going to go into that, because actually for anyone who works in business, we all have competitors, and actually I kind of get why we all like to hate them, but there are some positives there as well, and I kind of want to talk about that. And then last but not least, I'm going to talk about something called exporting, which is basically when you sell your products or services overseas. I did a really great course this week and last week from the Department of International Trade here in the UK. I've worked with DIT, or UKTI as they used to be known, for about 10 years now. And I just want to talk about the benefits of exporting and some stuff to kind of think about, with the whole point being, often people kind of focus on their own home kind of market and they don't even think what else is out there. Could they sell into India, Indonesia, America, wherever? The chances are you probably could, but you don't know where to start, and there are people there to help you. So what I'm going to do is cover 8 or 10 different benefits of doing that. It's not a plug, it's not a paid ad or anything, it's just a case of I'm passionate about it, and hopefully even if you are based in a foreign country, the idea is still the same, that you could export to the UK and vice versa. So hopefully those are some interesting topics. So on 901, I do love it when people kind of get in touch. I've had a really busy week this week. Luckily been able to kind of smash some stuff out for clients, which is really good. Hopefully on top of things. And then part of the reason why I like to do these on Friday morning is that it gives me the chance to talk about stuff that's happened throughout the week, be honest about stuff that I've kind of done, etc. And then likewise, I know it's almost the weekend, so for me it's a great time to kind of do it, but it is what it is. The other thing I always like to try and recap on, it's like a mental brain dump. The Ed Sheeran tickets. So joining myself and my wife is a guy called Joe Fosa, who's a professional boxer, really lovely guy, and his partner, and also the competition winner, who is Rebecca Corrigan, and her partner as well. What I am planning to do over the course of the year, this basically was a test. And what I wanted to do is that the whole point of live streaming, but live classroom sessions, I do believe that live is better. And almost what we're going to try and do, or what I'm going to try and do, is almost over the course of a year, do more cool live events and giveaways and different stuff that kind of links with the theme, but also it's stuff that I kind of want to go to too, and it's kind of tax deductible and all that kind of cool stuff. But the point is there will be lots more kind of competitions and stuff coming up as well. So if you follow the channels at Roadmap MBA, hopefully something might come up that you're really interested in. And then likewise, yeah, towards the end of the year, we've got a new website coming in August-ish, which will be more like Netflix, which is a huge step up from what I've kind of done so far. My current one, I built myself on Wix, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm aiming high, so we've kind of got that rolling through. And then hopefully in the future, the app will follow from that, and that'll be the real big thing that for me is the last key to unlock the door to really kind of go for it as well. And then before I forget, I am conscious it's 9:03, so I've been talking for 7 minutes. is basically I'm actually in America most of June, 13th of June to the 24th. So there will be a break in classroom sessions and live streams and podcasts and stuff. But it's all kind of building for the future. So if these disappear, I'm sure you won't care. But actually, I just wanted to kind of tell you about what I'm going to do. Okay. I'm going to start with this week. Give me a pen. So, being honest, my first business was actually a photography business back about 15 years ago when I was a PhD student. I was on a scholarship and I was on £13,000 a year, which isn't bad, but it's not terrible. It's, and actually to earn some extra money, I started my first kind of company. And every time I saw a rival photographer pop up, especially if it was an events photography business, I kind of hated them because I thought, they're going to steal some of my business away. There's only a certain amount of staff. Da, 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 da. And it was that balance again of nobody likes, in theory, competition because you're always worried about someone eating a slice of your pie that actually could get in the way in terms of your business growth and support and what you want to do. And that kind of follows through that even when I set up as a management consultant, which was in October 2019 to kind of do my day job, which is what kind of pays my bills and pays for all this. There are always elements that when you see other people pop up, are they any good? Are they not good? There's a lot of kind of detail to it. And it's absolutely 100% valid to kind of hate them a little bit just because they're competition in sports and I'm a big sports fan. It's always kind of good to do that. But there are some benefits kind of to it. There's two sides to it. The reason why I wanted to discuss this topic was talking to a good friend. I think it was technically last week, but regardless. And what she was saying is that she has a great business that does a certain thing. Someone who she knew asked for advice and how to pick different pieces of the kit and how to do different bits. And then a month or so later, sets up in competition to said friend to then offer the same thing. From a purely ethical point of view, that's bad form. You don't do that. Fair enough if you want to set in competition to do whatever it is, but at least don't be underhand to steal people's trade secrets and IP and that kind of thing. Because actually, like for instance, with live streaming or cameras or lighting, I happily talk about people, but to go into exact detail on how I do all of the tickers and stuff to then copy it and compete against me isn't cool. And some people do that. But the reason why I wanted to almost talk about, is it good or is it bad? Okay, if we start from the bad things, I go good, bad. Bad things first. So you're going to have more competition. So that if you have a target market, which could be your local city, yes, you're going to have actually one extra person who's trying to maybe tap up the same customers. The reason why that is bad, especially if it's the same network and that kind of thing, is that ideally every business wants to be known for a certain thing. So for me, it's the roadmap thing, it's the business education, maybe the podcast, maybe the streaming, but you kind of get known in the sphere. If you build a business around your thing, so it could be cupcakes or Simon, to do with ethical clothing, mental health, whatever it is, it's really important to kind of build your brand in that space. If someone comes to invade that space, especially in the area in which you're known, that's not great because they're going to eat away both in terms of your attraction. Sorry, mother. There we go. Voice is going. But then likewise, it's not great, and that's fine. But there are actually some positives to when people do this, because when I was researching for all of the roadmap stuff and looking at my edtech competitors, so not your local providers, but people are genuinely looking to build global, scalable, education-based businesses, it really gives you intel and data on what they're doing. And the reason why intel is so important is basically any founder of any business, you always have to decide on your direction. So actually, in what way do you want to take your company? What is your niche? What's your specialism? And when I was doing my own roadmap kind of information, I was using it on a platform called Deal Room, which is really good. I discovered maybe 10 different competitors, all with multi-million-pound funding. So in theory, that's bad because they have much bigger firepower than I do. But what was really interesting is the more I kind of digged into what they did and went onto their websites and their socials and how do they communicate, I was actually able to find intel about what they're doing, how they're doing it, their prices. And because I'm actually really confident in my kind of business model, I actually have no problem with that because I know they're on the wrong track. I believe I'm on the right track, but actually it's really kind of useful. But actually the bad stuff, it will upset you. You will kind of get that thick feeling, and actually, it's allowed to hate them. There's nothing wrong with hating people in business. Same with sports. When you get competitive rivalries, you can respect them, but you're allowed to kind of hate them a little bit. That's completely normal. But the big thing that you really want to do when you get the intel on the competition and kind of see what they're doing, it's the ability to learn and then pivot. So for instance, if you have a cupcake shop and you make cakes and you make a particular type of, I don't know, gluten-free cake, I always love making these things up on the spot. I just make it up. But the whole point is if someone comes out and they go for sugar-free cakes, almost play harder on your niche, because what you're doing is let the competition kill themselves and fight between themselves, and really it can be super useful to really find your niche and hone in on a certain direction for your business, which is mega valuable. So for me with the mission, it always was about making business education accessible, because that's my drive, that's my dream, whatever. And relating to that, the one thing which really kind of stuck with me was the fact that I want people around the world, regardless of what your economic background is, as long as you've got one of these, which really kind of helps, or even if you don't, I'll send you one of these. But yeah, price is a big thing that actually it just cemented for me to really want to offer the free option, because that in itself is a USP that all of the competition probably won't do, because it's suicide in a lot of different ways, but I've kind of thought it through. But actually that's made me stronger as a business. And likewise, even if your local competitor sets up to do X, people might want to hire you because it's you and it's your background and your experience versus the competitor. They might offer the same thing, but actually they're not you. They come at things from a different viewpoint that actually almost that's okay. And it was just something that really kind of came up, that on the general question on is competition bad, the answer is yes and no. Yes, if they're going to eat in terms of some of your meal and actually steal away some of your customers, but actually it's not bad in terms of your ability to learn, pivot and grow, that actually grow outside your core market rather than just compete in your one local city. Is there something else that you can do and really kind of build on, which actually will make you stronger in the long run? It is okay to be annoyed and pissed off and sad and upset, and especially if someone, the one thing you've got to do, it doesn't matter what you do in business. I have lots of people that I compete with, but I respect them and I do it ethically, and I don't try and copy or steal their stuff. There are barriers between what is good and how you choose to do business and people that don't. And the one thing that will stick with you, because a huge percentage of businesses do fail within the first 2 years, 5 years, that it might be that in 5 years time or 3 years time or even 2 months time, I'm doing a different business because this one fails. The point is your ethics and your mentality and what people know you for and your reputation will stick with you for the rest of your life. That's why it's really important to kind of work hard, be ethical, build a great business, but actually learn and keep pivoting in terms of the competition and kind of what they do. My name's Steve Pugh. If you catch this on YouTube, please feel free to kind of reach out. I love connecting with people. Have you got any business ideas that you want to do, or have you got any experience of competition that's kind of set up and tried to steal work away, that kind of thing? I would love to know as well. Cool. There we go. See, that's the other beauty of when you do these lives, that even if you do go into a coughing fit, you have to just keep going. And that's almost part of the practice. One of the things I was tempted to do a piece on was practicing about live presenting, because it's so much harder than just presenting to recorded video or even in a room, because you've got so much stuff going on. But almost it's great practice that actually now I've done 1 or 2 kind of presenting gigs in person since COVID's kind of finished. But it's just great practice once a week to kind of throw yourself off a cliff and kind of go in at the deep end and kind of do your best. Simon, sorry I missed your message. Started a new job in April. Honestly, mate, don't worry about it at all. The most important thing for anyone is to find something that pays the bills, looks after the family, sorts yourself out, and actually that always 100% should come first. That likewise, even if you run a business or whichever, there's always the balance of the stuff which pays your bills that you have to do, which is critical, and the nice to haves. The nice to haves can and should always drop off when you need them to, to focus on other stuff. So that's absolutely cool, but it's great to kind of, see you and kind of catch up and stuff as well. Okay. So at 9:13, I'm going to go into the benefits of exporting, and then I'm going to talk about that. So one of the big things which any business wants to do is maximize its addressable market. So if you sell these marker pens, most offices in the world can probably kind of buy them. And then actually, they're probably quite cheap to make, that you can send them around the world and really achieve scale. As where if you make, I don't know, perishable foods or cupcakes or vegetables, saying that they still get shipped around the world. Then again, so regardless of what product you kind of make or service, often when people set up, they focus on their core market. So it might be that I'm based in the northeast of England. When people first set up, they focus on the northeast of England. It makes perfect sense. And then likewise, you are a lot more likely to win customers within your local area and be able to service them really well if you're within a 20-minute drive or a 2-hour drive, that kind of thing. As you kind of grow a business, the more you kind of build your profile and awareness, and you absolutely 100% should focus on your target market first. You always want to, your focus and intent is so important that basically we all only have so many hours in a day, that focus on where you're going to have your low hanging fruit, your easy wins, and do that first, which will be your local market. So absolutely 100% do that. But when you've kind of saturated that, the potentials to sell your product or service around the world are huge. That actually of the 8 billion people in the world, only give or take 65 million are in the UK, which means that 99.5% of the world's population are outside of our borders, and they all might want your product or service. And so this week I've finished the Department of International Trade 2-day export kind of course, which is really cool. I have exported for quite a long time. I used to run a company which exported to 30 different countries. Some of my clients do the same. We send stuff all around the world. And actually, even with the roadmap here, we're in 29 different countries now, shipping to Brazil for the first time this week. And there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to kind of go at in terms of actually when you ship one of these, what's the code that you have to put on the form? What SIC code does it fall into? What's the customs duty? What's the delivery mechanism? Do I have to worry about getting paid? There's a lot of nuance to it, and if you're interested in that, if you Google it, it'll come up. I'm not going to cover that today, but what I am going to cover is the 10 different things that might be of interest. I'm going to talk around each one, and actually what I would love to do, just as a small part of this segment, is just inspire you to really think, actually, could I sell my product or service elsewhere? And just to spark that little piece of imagination, because the truth is you probably can, and then it's just start to think about it, and then there are lots of people there that will help you as well. So the first one is sales. So yes, you get the potential to earn more sales because you have more customers and more target markets around the world. That's a given one. People often focus on huge markets, which, as you can imagine, would be the USA if you're based in the UK. But again, you have challenges that, the UK is tiny, it's smaller than Florida compared to the USA. So likewise, it's almost treating it as 52 different states, and they will all have different cultures and the logistics and buying habits and stuff. And just it's physically massive of how you're going to get your stuff around and whatever. But just a simple thing of increasing sales and potentially getting more profit is something you can benefit from. A lot of exporters and companies that do export do become a lot more profitable. So that's definitely something to think about. The other one is reduce risk. So sales go up, risk goes down. Every market, and I've been hit by a few of them, has risk within it. So for instance, in 2014, 2015, I worked in the UK oil and gas market. And basically a lot of the work in the UK went through a town or a city called Aberdeen. And basically that's in Scotland. And when the oil price dropped off, that whole market kind of tanked. I got made redundant. Hundreds of thousands of people did as well. But the point is, if you have too many eggs in one basket, if you have sole reliance on one geographic kind of market, which could be the UK, or in one sector, which could be oil and gas, there's a lot of risk that if the oil and gas market tanks, will that take down your business? One of the benefits of exporting is that if you can also sell into still oil and gas, but you have the UK, but you have the Middle East, you have America, you have Brazil, and you have the Far East. What you're doing is mitigating your risk that actually work will hopefully still keep coming in. Even if something like Brexit happens, which affects just one region, it's a great way to kind of do that. In the course, we talk about how there's different ways to grow your business and actually grow into new sectors and geographies and not extend your risk too far that it becomes a problem. And we kind of go into that on the course. But actually, it's a really important thing to kind of think of. So Steph, one of the big things at the moment around the world is the difficulty in kind of hiring staff. There's more jobs than there are people, but actually, how do you make people want to work at your company and get excited? I've been fortunate in a lot of my former jobs. I have been able to travel with it. I've been all over the world, to be honest, and it's quite cool. And the point is, if you export as a business, the ability to send your team to France, America, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, India, Australia, anywhere, it's career progression, it's excitement, and there are a lot of benefits to your team. They're actually just going and doing something cool and doing something fun, that as well as the economic benefits of earning more money, it's definitely kind of worth looking at. Next is ideas. One of the great things that you always see, and it's one of my favorite things, is that when you do travel to get inspiration, because it might be that you see an irrigation system in India that's designed for rice fields in China, which actually, like, we could use that as a lubrication system for our oil pump. People around the world have figured out different ways to do different things that you might not know of. And actually, when you go to Japan and you see some of the tech and the ideas and stuff, the ability to kind of use that back and build it into your own plan or your own roadmap is super valuable. Even just this morning, I was watching a Google presentation by Sundar Pichai, who's their kind of CEO. And he was talking about Google Translate and how with AI, they've added new languages and it gets better all the time. That's important for me because, again, with the plan to try and make business education accessible to 5 billion people, languages is really cool. And to try and manually translate stuff, I know there's a lot of flaws with this, but I'm just saying, if in 5 years' time, AI language translation is better than humans, which I could see happening, the ability for me to unlock the business and export to every country in the world and every language in the world is a lot stronger because of ideas that I will have got from other sources. And the point is, people that export do get exposed to kind of more ideas and that kind of thing. Competitiveness will go up. That if you wanted to take your UK-based factory that currently services the UK, win more work in America, chances are you're going to have to scale up the factory and kind of do that. But when you do this, you get all the benefits of increased sales, the reduced risk, etc. But then basically scales of efficiency, when you've got a bigger entity and a bigger factory, it will become more competitive, which will help you in your home market as well. So it's really kind of worth linking that, thinking about that. The bigger you can build your machine, the better and stronger and leaner it will actually be, provided you do it properly, which will actually help you as well. So we've covered increased sales as well, greater exposure to ideas, we've done that, economies of scale, risk, and actually the last one, this is really important. And again, we talk about on the course about how for a lot of businesses, even Simon's old business, it's always really worth being aware of actually when you're busy throughout the year. If you have an international coach business, or you sell into oil and gas, or you sell Christmas decorations. Christmas is the funny one, so I'll take back the Christmas one, but you'll see where I'm going. When it's winter in Europe, it's often summer in the other part of the world. And again, vice versa. That likewise, if you sell suntan lotion, you're going to have great sales in summer and not great sales in winter. But the point is, in different parts of the world, as the world kind of rotates, those seasons do alternate. That actually, the more you can work in different areas, it can really make a big kind of huge difference. Likewise, if you do ski tours or whatever your business kind of is in oil and gas or renewables, it's really interesting because basically most of the installations actually happen over the summer, because actually that's when the sea states are calmer, the waters are easier to do work in. So it is a seasonal kind of business. So if you can spread your risk and make other stuff for other markets in other time zones, etc., there's a lot of stuff to do. So I won't kind of bang on about it, but actually in terms of exporting, there are a hell of a lot of stuff that you can really kind of do. It's not as difficult as you might think. You do definitely want to do your homework in terms of what is the target market. Will people actually want to buy your stuff? The big one I think is actually to do focus, as in where do you focus your effort, because you can't really chase down your home market, which hopefully pays your bills, and 10 other countries because it's too much to kind of do. So it's really important to kind of do it properly. Take your time, do your research, and then actually get help where you can, either from your local kind of Chamber of Commerce or Department of International Trade or whoever, and actually it's definitely kind of worth doing. If you catch this on YouTube, my name is Steve Pugh, please feel free to kind of reach out. If you're ever interested in growing in terms of your exports or reducing your risk or sales, please feel free to reach out with the Roadmap MBA. We are here to kind of help. And I'm going to go on to the last one today, but if you've got any questions, comments, anything, please feel free to reach out. Okay. So how's everyone's week been? It's been a long one. But the funny thing is I've been trying to learn a lot more about YouTube. That obviously when I clip these all up, that it's not just a one-shot kind of thing which live streams on different platforms. When you can then repurpose it and put it back onto the world's second biggest search engine, there's a lot of stuff that I've been trying to get better at as well, to do with search engine optimization and stuff, even for YouTube. There's so much stuff to learn that actually I will kind of talk about it at some point in the future. But it is, I like to share these kind of things. And also I love kind of learning new stuff, because for me, the more you can kind of upskill yourself, the better you're going to get, if that makes sense. And again, if anyone ever wants to learn anything, please feel free to kind of reach out, and I'm always here to help. So last but not least, today I wanted to talk about inflation. This is something which is a global headline at the moment. It's big news. There's a lot of reasons why it's kind of happened, and a lot of people want to know what is it, but then likewise, how will it affect me? And they're all 100% valid kind of comments. I did a poll on LinkedIn yesterday. It was something like 96% of people said that they were concerned about how it could impact them. About 8% were kind of, maths don't work out, but some people just didn't know how it was going to affect them, and actually some people weren't bothered. But the point is, this is something which will affect almost everyone in the world, and I wanted to kind of talk about it and at least address it. So basically, what is it? Inflation, by its very definition, is when there's a reduction in purchasing power for people. So for instance, how far will £1 go in terms of buying kind of stuff? In truth, it's when the cost of living kind of goes up, and actually things like food, fuel, petrol go up more than your basically wages. And what that means, if we kind of break this down, you have people, and then business, at the chimney, and then that's it. That looks like a cake. Anyway, doesn't matter. I was trying to draw a factory. It failed. It doesn't matter. But in terms of inflation, what is it? So basically, this is when we all take home pay, and then we use pay or our money or our wages to buy stuff. And that could be food, fuel, anything really. And the issue, what we have at the moment, is the cost of everything is going up. But actually our pay has generally stayed the same. What the Bank of England and lots of international banks and organizations try and do, and in America you have the Federal Reserve and lots of different things, is try and keep this thing called inflation around 2%. Keep it manageable, but you want to keep the economy growing, because if it's growing, it adds value. And it's kind of what they try and do is use different policy and tools to kind of keep us on this steady state of controllable kind of growth. Because of a lot of things that have happened, so we've had the COVID, so there was a massive impact there that government started to chuck loads of money into the economy to try and keep things going, keep people employed, and just really kind of get through it. We've had the war in Russia that basically, especially on fuel, our fuel prices have gone through the roof because actually people have stopped importing Russian oil and gas. I think it's Belarus and Finland and a few other, Germany, and we're massively reliant on that. So the point is, everyone else that sells those same products, now there's more demand, so the price has gone up, which has affected all of us. There's been issues in the supply chain, which comes again from COVID and labour shortages and fuel. And basically what's happening is that it's a perfect storm where costs are really going up, which isn't kind of great. From a business point of view, and I work with lots of different businesses on this, you've got exactly the same thing. So basically your costs are going through the roof, which isn't ideal, especially if you're tied into long-term contracts or framework agreements where you've agreed a set price for a set amount of time. You're going to get squeezed, and that's tough. Your supply chain is struggling, so the people that you normally buy stuff from are putting their prices up. And then likewise in terms of your staff, because of the pressure on them, you have a lot of people are kind of switching jobs and stuff at the moment. And I kind of get it that basically they need the money to live off, that if the business can't pay them or give them a pay rise, which they often can't because their costs have gone up, etc., and their client won't pay it, and it's a nightmare. You've got businesses being squeezed, workers being squeezed. You do have a lot of large companies that really kind of hate this. Keith Stevenson on my post yesterday commented how can it be allowed that you have your major multinationals and banks and supermarkets making these £1 billion fortunes every year when regular people can't even afford to buy food and stuff. It's horrible. So you've got this really difficult position where people are struggling, the businesses are struggling, and we shouldn't really forget that. And then what is the worry is that either it'll keep going and it can run away with itself, where actually you've had this in the past in different parts of Africa where it's called hyperinflation, where basically it spirals out of control and it just crashes. Or you then have governments and banks and stuff can use something called monetary policy, where they can change the cost of borrowing to make it more expensive to borrow money to invest in stuff, which will slow down this. But some people would then argue that that slows down the economy. And then actually, if you slow down the economy, will that create a recession that then more people will lose their jobs? And basically, in summary, inflation is not good. And where we're almost in a really difficult position that businesses are struggling, people are struggling. I'll be honest, for them themselves, it's not really their fault. It's government's role and major banks, like international banks, role to kind of keep this ticking over. That actually, I think we're in for a bit of a tough time. So actually, if you've heard this inflation thing get bounced around, it is kind of important to at least have an awareness of it. What can you do for both of these? The first one is try and keep your costs down. So if there's anything you can do to reduce your overhead, reduce your bills, have a smaller mortgage, have less debt, etc. Interest rates will go up. That actually, if you're struggling to pay the interest now on your credit card or whatever, but you've kind of been putting off paying it off, that will go up. So it will get tougher and tougher and tougher. The more you can kind of offload any costs and debt and overhead, the more easily you're going to be able to weather the storm as we kind of go forward. Security in terms of just, I'll be honest, if you're worried that your job is at risk, I wouldn't jump yet, but I would just keep an eye out for what else is kind of out there. And then likewise for businesses, it's doing everything you can to keep your existing clients warm, give them a cuddle, say hello to them, check back in with different people, and also do the big push to try and get into new markets, new sectors, new whichever. Because actually, I think realistically, we are due for a pretty big correction. Since 2008, the market, as from what I saw yesterday, has basically grown for a long time now without a big kind of correction or crash. We probably are due one, but the point is, actually, if you can get your kind of ducks in a row and get things in order, from that there is huge opportunity to really kind of grow and rebound and do well. But it is tough, and it will be tough, and actually I would expect it to kind of stay tough for at least 2 years as well. I know that's not great news and not really like happy kind of stuff, but it is what it is. What do you think? Do you think differently? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think, how are you planning to kind of get through this? I would love to know. It's 9:33 here in the UK. If you catch this on YouTube, please kind of drop me a message and stuff as well. My name's Steve Pugh. I'm always here to help. If you're anywhere in the world, Please feel free to reach out. I'll happily send you a free copy. So the Roadmap MBA is a real world business course to help you grow your business or career and really help you just build your skills and knowledge so that if you're a business owner and the recession hits, how do you get through it? How do you thrive from it? What we've tried to do is almost bring together the world's best theory on stuff, but really make it practical and easy to use to really help you grow and survive, because that's the important kind of thing. Or if you just work for other people and you work in your your career, which is what I did until 2-3 years ago, the more skilled you are and the better you are at different stuff, you're going to be more employable, you're going to get promoted quicker, and you can add more value to really help grow your career as well. So on both of those, hopefully I can help. It is completely free, so there's no access or whatever. And then likewise for the people that do pay, that's where we have the live classroom sessions and we do more one-to-one support. We help you go through your kind of career and really help, for me to add value however I can as well. So welcome to our new members. I hope you enjoy the packs. I am genuinely here whenever you want, even though there will be a break in live streams and podcasts and stuff just whilst I'm in America. We are building to something kind of bigger and better. And then last but not least, I've also met with a few people recently who could be more kind of guest presenters on the show. Really cool people, great viewpoints from different parts of the world as well. And that's what I'm trying to build. It's not meant to be, and it will never be forever, the kind of Steve Pugh show. And that's not what I want. But often when you start a business, it is the person that sets it up who does all the work and kind of does that. But over time, hopefully you'll see this grow. Have a wonderful Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. Best of luck with your own business or career or personal development or whichever. Please kind of reach out and say hello. I do appreciate the kind of support. Have a great weekend and I'll speak to you soon. All right, cheers guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.